Hello everyone, my name is Loko and welcome to a new Zerg vs Zerg build order for StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm. Now this time around, I'm gonna go for it all in. I know what you're thinking, I pretty much always go for like macro builds and all that kind of awesomeness. However, this is sort of like a follow-up or a different response to the previous Zerg vs Zerg build that I uploaded on YouTube. If you haven't seen that build order just yet, I would highly recommend you do, so make sure you click that first link right below that like button below, or just simply click right here. There will be like a thingy up there, I think, if I edited that in. There should be like something up there. Now what I cover in the other video is a standard +1/+1 Roach timing push after going for a gasless opener. What does this mean? Well, it means that you're gonna hit your opponent in the face with a whole lot of speed roaches with +1/+1. Now this build order is great up until a certain point. I personally use it all the time. But most people in Master League, and probably below that as well, somewhere around Diamond and Master and Grandmaster League, will be able to respond properly if they manage to scout it. Now what is the proper response to a gasless build order? Well, it is a third base. If you notice that your opponent is indeed going for a gasless build and you take a third base, get a bigger economy up than your opponent and just simply start pumping out roaches, you will be able to simply outproduce him, making the +1/+1 roach speed timing attack pretty much useless. So this build order is an alternate follow-up. Instead of going for +1/+1, you hit them in the face a lot earlier with a whole lot of roaches, a couple of Zerglings and a couple of queens as well. So as you might have already guessed, this is indeed a follow-up that you need to do after you notice that your opponent is taking the third base, or after you notice that your opponent managed to scout it. This means that it is really only viable in the higher leagues. In Platinum League and below, there will be a very small chance that the opponent will actually be able to scout your gasless opener. So most of the time you should be able to execute just the standard +1/+1 roach speed timing attack. If you realize that your opponent is not responding properly at all, and he's not getting a third base and he's not being aggressive to you, simply just play the standard +1/+1 roach speed timing, which will probably be a lot stronger. However, when you notice that your opponent scouts you, he sees that you indeed do not have any gas geysers and he decides to take a third base, then I would highly recommend you give this Roach-Ling Queen attack a chance, because honestly, I have yet to lose a game with it. Keep in mind that this push is pretty much all in, so if you don't manage to kill your opponent, you will just sort of lose. Now the strength in this build is that your opponent relies on you not moving out for at least a couple more minutes. The +1/+1 roach speed timing attack is pretty late, and this push hits significantly before that. So let's jump straight into the game. So this build order opens up pretty much the exact same way as the gasless build order video that I made previously. First off, you start off the build with an overlord on 9 supply. Next up, at 15, I go for a spawning pool. After that, at 15 supply once again, I followed this 15 spawning pool up with a 15 hatchery. As you might have guessed, there's not gonna be any gas geysers taken for a little while. When the spawning pool finishes, you follow this up as normal with a queen right there, as well as a set of scouting Zerglings. When we take a look at my opponent's vision right now, you can indeed see that this overlord, this very first overlord of his, scouts that I am indeed opening up gasless. At this point, he has already decided what he's gonna do, which is the standard response right now. He is gonna go for an extremely fast third base. When the first queen pops out, you inject with it, start another queen, and walk that very first queen to the natural, where it will start injecting the hatchery on the low ground in between, just making drones, and still no gas geysers taken. With the second queen that spawns, you also just inject. So here we go, gonna hit inject right there in the natural as well as in the main base. And after that, at the 5-minute mark, I mess up my drones and I start up a 5-minute double gas geyser right now. So far it is the exact same way as the gasless build order is. However, instead of following this up with a quick lair, I'm gonna follow this up a little bit differently. Right now, with my overlord, I scout that my opponent is taking a third base. I have an overlord scouting this third, as well as the other third right here at the gold, and I notice, okay, my opponent is doing the standard response to scouting that I'm going gasless. At this point, I decide to change it up. So right now, right around, 100 gas or so, I start up my Roach Warren, as well as Zergling speed right after it. So instead of going for a lair and double upgrades, I decided to go for a Roach Warren as well as Zergling speed. I also start making a couple more queens because I want to go up to 4 queens 2 of them are gonna be used for the push, the other 2 are gonna be there for injecting. At this point, once we hit max saturation on minerals in the natural as well as in the main base, with 2 gas guys just mining, we stop spending minerals and gas for a little while. Just queue up a couple of overlords, and once the roach warren finishes, you instantly start a big round of roaches. The queens meanwhile are used to actually shoo away any overlords, both to clear the path, but also to make sure that our opponent is supply blocked. We do not want him to know that we are moving across the map for quite some time. Now once the roaches spawn, you don't really want to wait and sit back with them, you want to move across the map instantly. When you run out of gas, you indeed follow this up with a whole lot of Zerglings. Now Zergling speed is indeed still in production, but it will finish up when we get to the other side of the map. So right now I am moving, bringing the 2 queens with me as well, and I'm just gonna try and put on the pressure on my opponent. Going to be producing non-stop units. Now meanwhile, on my opponent's side of the map, yes, he did finish up the 3rd base, but he is not aware that I indeed was moving out, and even if he would have scouted this, it would have been an extremely hard push for him to stop. I'm not gonna bother with the 3rd base because I'm smelling blood. I want to kill my opponent right here. I want to finish off the game, so killing the 3rd base is really no reason to do that whatsoever. I am moving still. My queens are about to join the fight as well. Transfuse is ready on those. Gonna target fire down the roach warren right now with a couple of roaches, and the rest is just gonna fight away these drones and the roaches of himself. Right now my queens are here as well, picking up on the overlords, trying to get done what they can get done, and my opponent decides to leave the game. So a very easy build order. Once again, how you did this: simply get the 5-minute double gas guys up, scout that your opponent is going for a 3rd base. Instead of going for a lair, you go for Zergling speed with a roach warren. Now if you want to take a look at this replay yourself, I will leave a link to that right below that like button in the description. So keep in mind that this is indeed a pretty high level follow-up, because, you know, you require your opponent to know the response, and you're sort of like countering the current meta, where your opponent takes the 3rd base really quickly, expects you to not move out for a couple of minutes, and then you hit him in the face with a whole lot of stuff. If you really enjoyed the video and you want to see more and you want to be the very first one to get a notification when I upload new content, make sure to hit the subscribe button. It is right around there somewhere below, and you will be getting a notification every single time I upload a video. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I will see you in the next StarCraft 2 video. Bye!